Alright, this is John Black, Super Chemist. We're at part 14. Hopefully this is the last video. Oh my god. The biggest trick about gender theory. Uh, we were talking about divorce rates, how it's just a trick to get people to think that this divorce rate is 50%. It's not 50%, okay? That's a lie. Alright? Now take 100 marriages, right? 78 of them work. That means only 22 fail. That means you have a 22% divorce rate, not a 50% divorce rate. Okay? And that is even off. It's actually lower than that. But I want you to bear with me. Why do they say it's 50-50? Because these 22 people, right, who divorced in the 100 people group, they go out and they divorce 3.5 times, right? Or whatever it is, right? Because those 22 people that divorced, they go out and they make a total of 78 divorces. So if you have 78 divorces, and remember originally we had 100 people, 78 of them worked out, right? So 78 worked out, and 78 are divorces now. Because there's now 156 marriages total. You know what I mean? And so now it's a 50-50 success rate, 50% divorce rate. You see how that goes? But see, what's really happening is these 22 women out of the 100, those are the non-binary women. Those are the ones who go to work and think that they want a partnership. They want to not be in their place, right? But their biology, their brain chemistry won't let them do that. As much as they think they want to, you can't. You can make the white tiger go to Vegas and do tricks in Vegas, but the white lion's going to be a lion sooner or later. And what happened in Vegas? The tiger tried to eat the guy that his owner. Yeah, because you can override biology to a point, but when it's a survival biomechanism, a survival one, yeah, you can only override that for a little bit of time. That's why these marriages only last 5 to 10 years. Because they can only override that biomechanism for 5 to 10 years, basically. Yeah. And of course, there's exceptions to the rules. Some of these women, they get married for 20 years, and they're like, "Oh, I'm just bored." Yeah, so it must be my husband. See, and then they blame it on their husband, like, "Well, I'm bored. I'm not in love anymore, and this and that." But it's the reason they're not unhappy. I mean, the reason why they're unhappy is because they're not being a woman. They're being non-binary. And that makes, just like hey, if you get a tiger and he's trying to act, or lion, and he's trying to eat plants and act like a different animal, he's not going to be happy, right? And if you force a lion to come into your house and be a pet, he's not a pet, so he's not going to be happy. And so anyways, that was the lie about the divorce rate. I lost track of what I was saying, so. But anyways, yeah, these women, though, they're insane anymore. Gen Z is like mentally retarded. These women are crazy. I'm just going to give you some examples of the things they're thinking. Women think, when men want to sleep with them, that makes them valuable, like that people would want to marry them too. So because they're getting banged, trained on by 10 guys every night with these 16% of the top people, right? Because they're doing that, they think that they're valuable women. So the more they sleep around, they think the more valuable they are, which is insane. What else do they think? A woman thinks being a single mother is a sought-after thing by men. Like men just... If a man sees a single woman and with no kids, and a woman that has, single woman with kids, he'll want that single woman with kids because she has more experience and more knowledge and blah, blah, blah. Yes, that's how crazy. You know, women actually think that the older they get, the more prettier they get. Hey, you're just looking at someone that's old and be like, hey, I could see this person is 60. You know, yeah, I could see. Like everything, every organism on the planet that has ever existed gets more crappier as they get older because you're replacing your whatevers, you know what I mean? And as you replace them, you know, the molecules that make up your body, your cells. As you replace them, you're having mistakes. You know what I mean? So that's what, you know, you start getting old. They deny that. They deny everything about biology, really. You know what I mean? So let's see how much time I have. Oh, that was only 6 minutes? Jesus. Okay, well, what else? I'll just reiterate then, I guess. Wait. Yeah, you know, the trick is, I'll say it again, you know, go over them. One, they tricked us into thinking women can work. Yes, they can. And obviously, probably the top 10%, they can go to work their whole lives, 60 hours a week and not, you know, and be okay. Okay. But the average woman, I mean, what about the other 90%? You know what I mean? What about the 50% that all go bonkers? Okay, because they can't handle the stress. Okay, nobody watches my videos. I'd say go watch this video and that and get the data or whatever. No. Nobody's gonna go. Nobody even watches anything. But anyways, so that's the one trick, right? So they taught us that the genders are the same, but they're not. So if you try to be non-binary, you can't. That's the thing. Men don't force women to submit and be followers. Women force men. Okay? Every woman, you know it, even the most alpha, has to have a leader. They don't want no follower. But the thing is, if I can't go out and say, I want a general, you know, to do this war, and I go get the general, and then instead of following him into the battle, I start saying we're equal. That's crazy. That's insane. But this proves that they're followers. You know, a president doesn't look for a president, a general doesn't look for a general. They look for people to follow them into the voting booths, follow them into wars. So this idea that they can work, first of all, is crazy, because they can't be out of their place. All right? A man has to be in his place, a woman has to be in his place. And if they ain't, your marriage is only going to last 5-10 years. All right? If you're lucky, 20, which I don't know if that's considered lucky, because they've stolen even more of your life. But this is a lie, okay? It doesn't sound good or whatever, but I don't care what the fuck. Look at society and look at the data. It says it is beyond obvious, okay? It is beyond obvious at this point. I mean, just look at society. You don't even have to look at goddamn data. Just look at there's thousands of videos. You know, these women, they're crying. They've been tricked to wait 30 years to start looking for a man when they're old and their eggs are dried up and they've been so masculinized by their job. They've been so degraded, like their mental faculties have been degraded over time because they can't handle having a full-time job. And then that's when they want to get married. Nobody wants you then. Who the hell would you want you? Habit. You've made the habit of being a man and going to work and being non-binary. So how are you going to be a housewife? Because these women think that habits don't matter. Like, I could be a slut all my life and then become a housewife. No, you have 10, 20 years of habiting, doing the same thing over and over again. That's a habit. You don't smoke cigarettes or do drugs for 10 or 20 years and then just stop. That's insane, okay? It doesn't have to be drugs. Any habit. You don't just change a habit overnight. Like, it's like, that's why they call it a habit, you moron, okay? That's another trick. And this thing that they're unsafe, just so that they'll hate us. And that hate also ruins the marriage, you know what I mean? And men are so confused because if they act like men and be the leader, women have been taught everything about a man that when he's a leader, you'd be truthful, you'd be direct. Oh, that's being mean, you know what I mean? So when he's in his place, the woman has been trained or brainwashed to hate him, to be racist against him, or any of his male attributes. So he cannot be in his place when he's with a non-binary modern woman, right? That's all a modern woman means. It means they're non-binary. That's it. So he can't be there, and when he does, he'll get, you're being mean to me. Why are you doing that? Why are you blah blah? Why are you being truthful to me? Why are you being direct? That's obviously evil. So then he moves over here, more to be a woman, right? So now he's not non-binary. But see, now the biology, not the brainwashing, the biology of the woman. It's the biology of the woman. She can't handle it, him not being in his place. She will put, we all know it. Because even if you treat him like a queen and you give him, because I did this, like an idiot. I treated him like a queen, and that's an entitled dictator. Why would you do that? Why would I do that? But, yeah, you treat them like a queen, and you give them everything, you do everything for them. They do nothing, they give you nothing back. And what do? They step right over you. Everyone knows this. Why? It's because their biology, okay, refuses to let the man be out of his place, and she refuses to let her be out of her place. She wants both of them to be in a place, but she's been brainwashed not to be in her place and not to let him in his place, so that we're all non-binary. The man is closer. It's not as much as being non-binary with their blue hair and their metal face. That's the trick. You don't have to be that type of non-binary. Non-binary doesn't mean that you're in the middle with blue hair and, metal on your face. Non-binary means you're not in your freaking place. That's the trick. The trick is convincing you that you can move a little bit out of your place. You can be, we're not like non-binary with the blue hair. No. We're just, here's men and women. We only moved over this spot. See, now the woman's working and the man isn't the leader and it's a partnership. That's the trick. Now, and the thing is, it's not the men that's forcing this. It's not about the men. The women, they can't handle it. They can't do it. Okay? And if you go in and watch my female biology videos, you'll know that about how I go into about how a woman's brain is different than a man's brain. A woman's brain, the two hemispheres are basically two brains with their own, each hemisphere having their own wants, thinkings, and decisions. They're all, it's literally two different people, right? In a man's brain, there's hierarchy. The one side of the brain controls the other side and makes all the decisions. The other submissive side, all it does is give input. And then the dominant side makes the decision. It's a hierarchy brain. In a woman's brain, no. The submissive side almost has as much control as the dominant side. So just think about it. You got two people talking in your head. What happens? Most of the time they agree, but what happens when they don't? That's why women act the way they do. Put that in conjunction with the fact that their hormones are up here. They're all over the place. You know what I mean? Put them two together. Just those two facts. Not going into the fact that the different, like a woman has double the verbal centers in her brain, a bigger limbic system that controls emotion and stuff like that. There's millions of reasons. There's scientific studies saying they can't work, they can't do it, and they are not responsible enough. That's why they're the follower, because they can't. They always have these arguments. They can't do it. Why can't people understand that?